Fellas, today we're going to be predicting the next 3 title fights in every division. So if one of them's been announced, we're going to be predicting that fight, and then we're going to be making a prediction of what the next 2 fights could possibly be and how they go. One thing I want to clarify is I'm only going to be doing it from heavyweight to welterweight, because if I was to do every single fight, I'd be covering, or every single division, I'd be covering 24 fights. And I'm not sure you guys want to stick around through the entire thing, so I'll definitely do a welterweight to, a lightweight to flyweight one eventually, but in this video it's just going to be heavyweight to welterweight. But let me know if you agree with these. The next 3 fights in every, or the next 3 title fights in every division. Starting off with the heavyweight division, I've gone with Aspinall versus Pavlovich. I mean, this is going to be happening this week, no, next weekend at UFC 295. Now, the reason I'm counting this as a title fight is because right now it's an interim fight, but I feel like the UFC, after Jones versus Miocic next year, which they're probably going to do, I predict that's going to happen next year for the heavyweight belt. As soon as that fight's done and they've both retired and, you know, Jones, his legacy's finished, whatever, then they're going to probably make the winner of Aspinall versus Pavlovich the heavyweight champion. So I've gone with that one being the first kind of title fight, because right now it might not be, but I predict they will, you know, they'll just give the winner of that, they'll promote them as the actual champion. Jones and Miocic, yeah, it's probably going to get rescheduled next year. I don't think either of them want to fight any other of these contenders. Definitely not going to fight the winner of Aspinall Pavlovich anyway. And I don't think that fight really matters, because no matter who wins, they're both going to retire. And then in the meantime, the Brazilian, you know, I've said this before, Mbappe, Jailton Almeida is going to come out of nowhere. He's going to come out of nowhere. He's going to smoke Derek Lewis, unfortunately, unless Derek Lewis decides to stand up. Then after the Derek Lewis fight, he's probably going to get a fight against a top contender. I'm thinking Cyril Gane, but Cyril Gane, being the guy he is, being the absolute wimp of it as he is, you know, listen, it runs in the French bloodline, to be honest with you. Cyril Gane most likely going to refuse to fight Jailton Almeida because it's a nightmare matchup, and they're probably going to feed poor Volkov to Jailton Almeida, and then they're going to do Volkov versus Almeida. Almeida's going to win, and then the final fight, I believe, is going to be late next year, maybe around, I don't know, October, September time. I think the title fight will be Jailton Almeida versus Tom Aspinall for the heavyweight belt. That's just my prediction. I feel like Aspinall's going to beat Pavlovich. A lot of you keep calling me Aspinall meat riders. I want to clear something up. Aspinall has talent, right? Everyone's been calling him a can, saying he's this, saying he's that. Listen, Aspinall's got this 6-round finishing streak just like Pavlovich does. The only reason it's not as clean as on his record is because he lost to Curtis Blades by injury. If you take away that injury loss, he's also got 6, not first round knockouts, 6 first or second round finishes, all by way of knockout or submission. You've got to respect Aspinall. I think he's going to go far. I'm not sure how the Almeida matchup's going to go. I need to see Almeida face another top contender, but that's just my prediction for the heavyweight division. Maybe Pavlovich could pull it off. Cyril Gane's not going to have a title shot before then. He's probably going to be next in line after Aspinall versus Almeida, but I don't think he's going to be in line by the time that fight's happened. So I think that's how the heavyweight division is going to pan out. Light heavyweight. First fight, I'm going Alex Pereira versus Yuri Prochazka. I mean, it's already been announced. It's literally next week. And I'm going Pereira to win that. I think he's going to knock out Yuri Prochazka. I'll do a more detailed prediction on that fight on the fight week. But right now, early prediction, I think Pereira is going to knock out Yuri Prochazka. At least, even if he doesn't knock him out, he's definitely going to beat him by decision. He's definitely going to beat him, is what I'm going to say. He's going to beat Yuri Prochazka, and then originally I was thinking maybe they're going to do Johnny Walker versus Magomed Ankalaev 2, but I feel like first of all, I feel like Ankalaev's going to win that fight, and the UFC are going to do everything they can to keep Ankalaev away from the belt, because not only is he not the most entertaining fighter to watch, he's also a cursed fighter, always getting these random doctor stoppages, draws, no contests. So I feel like they're going to keep Ankalaev away from the belt, and Jamal Hill, he's going to be ready to come back, and they're going to give him an immediate title shot against Pereira, and Pereira's going to beat him as well. I'm sorry, Jamal Hill. You lost to Paul Craig. Pereira's beating you as well. And then after Pereira's beaten Jamal Hill, they're going to have no choice but to give Ankalaev another title shot. Now, there are a few contenders in there. There's Nikita Krylov. There's Alexander Rakic. I feel like, obviously, Alexander Rakic ain't going to get an immediate title shot. Nikita Krylov's last win, who was it, Gustafsson? So they're definitely not going to give either of them a title shot. Probably going to match them up against each other, but that's just how I feel like it's going to go. Pereira's going to start beating these light heavyweights, get a few defenses on his record, and then The Ankalaev fight will run into him, and I'm not sure how that's going to go. Listen, that's the good thing about the third fight. I don't have to predict the third fight, but yeah, they're going to give Jamal Hill, definitely going to give him a title shot over Ankalaev if they can. And Jamal Hill should be healed. I mean, he weren't ready to fight in December, but I reckon he'll be ready to fight at least from April next year. Pereira's an active fighter. He's already fought 3 times this year. Well, he would have fought 3 times this year after the Prohaska fight. So, yeah, Jamal Hill should be ready then. And then we're going to see Hill versus Pereira. Yeah, that's just how I think the light heavyweight division is going to go. Maybe Yuri Prohaska stops Pereira and my entire prediction is ruined, but I just don't see that happening, to be honest with you. My mark's being weird. Anyway, yeah, I just don't see that happening. I've got Pereira smoking a lot of these contenders. Middleweight. This one's where it gets a little bit weird. Now, the UFC, at first I thought, listen, Dana White, he's just looking at pay-per-views now. He's probably going to do Khamzat Chimaev versus Sean Strickland, even though Du Plessis just beat Whittaker and deserves a title shot. But Khamzat Chimaev's injured. He's injured his hand. He's not going to be ready for a few months. Sean Strickland's in need of a title fight. I reckon he's going to be on UFC 298 or 97 at earliest, at least. They're going to have to do Dricus versus Sean Strickland, especially with the fact that the fans have backlashed the fact that Khamzat could get a title shot so much. They've got no choice but to do Dricus versus Strickland. That's what they're probably going to do. Hopefully that's what they do, because Dricus deserves a title shot. Now, I like Sean Strickland. I also like Dricus Du Plessis, but Dricus is going to have to run through Strickland, man. The fact that he did that to Whittaker, and I know no one expected Sean Strickland to do it to Adesanya, but if I had to put money on someone, I'm putting it on Dricus Du Plessis. Then by this point, they're either going to give Khamzat an immediate title shot, or they're going to make him face another contender. Maybe they're going to do an Adesanya fight for a 3-rounder or a 5-rounder for a non-title fight pay-per-view. Maybe they're going to give Khamzat someone like Paulo Costa again. Either way, he's definitely one fight away from a title shot. Then we're going to see Dricus versus Khamzat, and I think Dricus takes Khamzat as well. I don't see the massive threat that Khamzat has to Dricus. From what we've seen, listen, I know I made a video saying let's not overhate Khamzat Chimaev, but he's 5 rounds with Dricus Du Plessis. He's stylistically an absolute nightmare for Khamzat Chimaev in every way. He's a grappler, he can hit hard, he performed against Whittaker better than anyone ever has before. Khamzat Chimaev was tired after the first round. I know he was in a different division and everything, so I'll give him respect for that, but Dricus Du Plessis, I don't see how Khamzat beats him. And then, I feel like after that, after Dricus has got his defense, it's either going to be Dricus versus Jared Cannonier or Whittaker. I feel like Cannonier's only 1 fight away from a title shot. They're probably going to do Cannonier versus Dolidze 2. Wait, has Dolidze got an opponent? I don't know if he has. But Cannonier's obviously pulled out of the Dolidze fight, so it's not really a rematch, is it? It's just a fight rebooked. But Jared Cannonier is going to beat another contender and get another title shot, and it's going to be against Dricus. Or maybe Whittaker comes back, gets a win, and then they're going to do Whittaker versus Dricus part 2, but I think that'd be more interest in a Cannonier fight than a Whittaker rematch, so I reckon it's going to be Cannonier versus Dricus Du Plessis for the middleweight belt, and that's how I feel like it's going to pan out. It's a bit of an interesting division now that Adesanya's gone. It's not just Adesanya versus Marvin Vettori 2. That was probably the most upsetting title fight I think I've ever seen. That was probably when middleweight was at its worst. Adesanya versus Vettori 2. And then, the backup fighter, Jack Hermanson. Anyway, welterweight. Listen, you're all going to disagree with me on this one. Leon versus Covington. I think Leon's going to beat him. Again, that's in December this year. Leon's going to beat Covington. By the way, did I say the light heavyweight fight was in December? I meant next week if I said it was in December. Anyway. Leon versus Edwards. Leon versus Colby. Leon's going to win. I think it's going to be by decision. Neither of them can really finish opponents, and I know Leon got the iconic head kick, but Leon's not really known for finishing opponents outside of the head kick. Neither is Covington. His last finish, I believe it was Tyrone Woodley, and that was due to an injury on his rib. It's going to go all 5 rounds. Now, the fact that it's a 5-rounder, it does kind of give, you want to kind of edge towards Covington for that one because of his cardio, but I feel like Leon's just going to outskill him. And then we're going to have to do Bilal Muhammad versus Leon Edwards too. Bilal's either going to get a win over a contender, or they're just going to give him an immediate title shot because he's definitely next in line, but I've got a really weird feeling that Bilal Muhammad's going to beat Leon Edwards. It's going to be the most depressing moment in MMA history since Tony Ferguson got knocked out by Chandler. If Bilal Muhammad is the welterweight champion, I would do anything to try and get even Kamaru Usman back as the champion. anything but Belal Muhammad, but they're going to have to give him a title shot and he's going to become the champion, unfortunately. Or maybe we might see a fun version of Belal Muhammad, kind of like a funner version of the fighter like we saw against Kamaru Usman. He had the boring fight against Masvidal, and then after that it was pretty much just fun fights from there. And then by this time, Shavkat Rakhmonov's going to save the day. He's going to have a win over Wonderboy, maybe even another contender. And then eventually it's going to be Shavkat Rakhmonov versus Belal Muhammad. Maybe Leon Edwards is waiting for another title fight, but it's going to be Shavkat versus Belal. And I don't have to predict that one, but to be honest, I hope Shavkat smashes his face in. That's just my prediction for the welterweight title lineage. Unfortunately, Belal Muhammad's going to become a champion. No one wants it to happen. And he's going to ruin the sport, and it's going to be the worst moment in MMA history. But Shavkat's going to come around and get another title shot against Belal. So hopefully Belal can become more interesting. But that is my prediction for the next 3 title fights. Like I said, I'll do a part 2 to this with the lightweight to flyweight in a different video. But let me know if you agree with these title fights. Let me know your thoughts on Belal the Bum Muhammad. And yeah, thank you for watching.